Bonsoir everyone, welcome to Chacha's Creepy Show. 2 months ago I told you about a book by Jean Sider, from which I shared some early French UFO sightings dating from before 1947, and tonight I wanted to tell you more old accounts taken from that catalogue. We are in 1906, in La Selle-sur-Gouzon, deep in the French countryside. Jules is 18. He is an apprentice carpenter. He had just finished installing a window at a property in the village. He's in a rush, it's 10 p.m, and he spent a long time chatting with the farmer's daughter. It's pitch black outside. Jules walks along the path alone, heading home. Then he reaches an intersection in the road. He discovers something beyond comprehension. About 10 meters away, there's a gathering of about a dozen of strange figures, sitting in a circle on the ground around what looks like a large white fabric. No one of them are speaking. No one says a word in the stillness of the night. They're all middle-aged men wearing identical grey uniform. There's no vehicle, no familiar object in this bizarre scene. Terrified, Jules continues on this path, and the weird beings who had their backs to him turn to look at him as he passes by. Once past the eerie group, Jules hurries, feeling uneasy. About 100 meters later, something even more disturbing happens. Emerging above the treetops, a flying being appears. The entity is flying fast, horizontally, legs together, head lifted as if to see where it's going. Jules can't really tell if it has wings or is using its arms. The flying being passes just above the head of the poor young man, who had clearly not seen enough strangeness in the last 2 minutes. Then the figure dives straight toward where the strange group was gathered, but the witness has seen enough. He rushes home. I would have done the same. The next story took place in February or March 1914 in the rural heart of France. A farmer was walking home at night. Suddenly, atop a small hill, about 100 meters from where he stood, he saw a glowing, rounded object of pale green color. The unknown object was on the ground. The poor man's surprises weren't over yet, because moments later he saw several very small figures emerge from the object. Distressed, the farmer watched the little beings circle around their craft before entering it again. Then the object lifted off, spiraling upward before flying out of sight at a great speed. The third story also happened in 1914, in August, near Noiretable, again in the countryside. Mr. Perret was young at the time. His father had just been drafted for the First World War, which had just begun. He lived in an old house with the rest of his family, sharing a room with his brother, sister, and mother. His grandparents slept in the next room. That night, everyone was asleep as usual, but at 4 a.m., Mr. Perret suddenly woke up. He was sure he felt a hand tapping him on the back. He turned around, not prepared for what he saw. A luminous being resembling a child no older than 12, wearing a robe down to his feet. The face and clothes of the being were an intense, radiant white, so bright in fact that they lit up the entire room. And Mr. Perret realized that the being had come directly through the door that separated his room from his grandparents. The entity passed near the boy's bed and smiled at him. Then it crossed the room to a door leading outside, which it passed through without opening, vanishing. The room remained lit for a few seconds after it disappeared. And this story really echoes a local legend. that tells of a certain night in early September when a procession of luminous beings climbed a slope leading to an old priory and vanished in the blink of an eye. I don't know if this story is UFO friendly or not, I'll let you decide, but it's in a book about UFOs. So, the next story from 1919 is short but chilling. It happened in the rural south of France. A 12-year-old boy with a friend was tending a herd of cows, and they realized they weren't alone. Two immense figures, about 2 meters tall, were walking with a strange, almost mechanical gait. They wore matching shiny suits with a glowing light on their abdomen. Unfortunately, there aren't many more details about this case.
Too bad.
The following year, on a summer night in Nontron, just before midnight, two sisters, Louise and Marie, accompanied by some friends, were walking back from a dance. The road they took ran alongside a forest. That's when things took a surreal turn. Above the treetops, they saw small beings levitating. They moved slowly, emitting strange musical-like sounds. Around these beings floated unexplained lights and orbs. 55 years later, when they shared their experience, the two sisters said that the scene was so enchanting that they felt no fear. But the last story is far more frightening. It also happened during the summer of 1920, along the banks of the North Channel. That summer was extremely hot. A young boy of 8 years old loved spending entire afternoons alone playing along the canal. He was walking as usual when suddenly, from behind the locust trees, two deeply unsettling beings leaped out. They were huge and very thin, wearing something like a spacesuit, metallic in appearance, yet flexible.
What kind of material is it?
But the poor child's nightmare was just beginning. The two entities led the young boy into what he first thought was some kind of strange tank. He said he couldn't resist, as if his ability to fight or flee had been taken from him. He remembers little of the inside of the ship. He vaguely recalls portholes, round or rectangular, and that he sat on a very soft kind of couch. The child began to cry. He doesn't know if his distress moved the entities that had forcibly taken him into that cabin. But at that moment, an opening appeared in the ceiling. And just like that, he found himself outside again. And all by himself. But even free of this nightmare, the boy's ordeal wasn't over. He had to walk all afternoon to get back to the starting point of an abduction that had lasted only a few minutes. He didn't return home until nightfall, only to be met by furious parents who never believed his story. Tough day. I don't know what you think, but I find these stories fascinating. Let me know in the comments if you'd like a third episode, because I still haven't finished it, and I think there is more material waiting for us. In the meantime, never forget to look up at the sky and all around you. And I see you soon. Bye.